from the folks that brought you 9/11, a Riyadh comedy festival coming into Riyadh, coming into Saudi Arabia, as well as Mr. Beast is coming to Saudi Arabia with his Beast Park, which is sort of like Disneyland type of thing, sort of like entertainment park. It's gonna be there for just a month and a half or so. And this is what we'll talk about today. Welcome to the Daily Objective. Joining me today is Jonathan Honig. And I mean, Jonathan, let's quickly jump into it. So I think we did, or specifically you did a show a few years ago on Saudi Arabia. You know, it's a country that still practices male guardianship, meaning women are not like individual being in the legal sense. They need to have a male guardian to even act as individuals. It's a dictatorship, one of the last few like hereditary sort of like hardcore dictatorships we have on the earth. And now we have comedians, big name comedians. I mean, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart. So this already happened. This festival happened on September 26th until October 9th. And these all big comedians went there. We'll go into sort of how they are justifying it. But Jonathan, any of your opening thoughts on this festival?
Yeah, I mean, I start with that notion of Miss Rand always talked about of sanction. You know, I mean, why on earth would you sanction an Islamist dictatorship that, as you said, is living literally in the dark ages? You know, treats women, treats gays literally like pieces of property or ants to be exterminated. So, you know, I know why ultimately, and my guess is a lot of these performers go. I'm sure Saudis, just like with their golf league and everything else that they pour public money into, that, you know, they pay them tremendous sums. But, you know, I don't know how these people can necessarily sleep at night, live with themselves, knowing that they're dealing with and they're sanctioning and in effect whitewashing true evil. I mean, you know, would you sit down and share a meal, let alone share a business partnership with someone that would throw a gay person off of a rooftop or treat a woman like a piece of chattel property? But that's exactly what they're doing. And I think it's pretty despicable.
Yeah, I mean, something that's happening, and you know, before this, I posted this on WhatsApp, and some of one of our members said, they are selling out. But I think what is happening that is even more disgusting is that they are not selling out. They are not compromising their values. They are agreeing morally with the things they've been doing. I mean, we can go through a few. So we have Jim Jeffries, I think he's Australian comedian. I did like him, but I haven't watched him in a while. He said, there's been a reporter who they killed. You don't think our government has fucking bumped people? I think Jeffrey Epstein was fucking bumped off. One reporter was killed by the government. Unfortunate, but not a fucking hill that I'm gonna die on. So, you know, they kill and this is, I think, even what Donald Trump once said, right? You think we don't kill people? And it's like, you know, there's bad things that are done by Western governments, but equalizing it with Saudi Arabia, people behind 9/11, people behind sponsoring terrorism, a country that is right now doing bad stuff. Like the journalist that was killed was like in June, few months ago, 1 month ago, before the Riyadh festival was even announced.
Right. I mean, I think that's the point here, Daniel. I mean, Saudi Arabia is an Islamist totalitarian dictatorship now. It's not like, you know, when I grew up as a kid in the 80s and 90s, my parents would ever buy anything German. You know, they grew up in the era of the Holocaust. So that I thought was irrational, because today's Germany has nothing to do with 1940s Germany. And it's irrational, I think, immoral to blame today's Germans for anything that happened 60 or 80 years ago. But today's Saudi Arabia is despicable. It is irrational. It is immoral on its face. But, you know, as you said, from the comedians to say, well, you know, everyone kills people. As you said, I mean, Trump gave a famous interview years ago. You don't think we do that? I mean, it's such a smearing of Americanism. It's such a taking of just the right to speech, if nothing else. Is there truly free speech in Saudi Arabia? Of course there isn't. But, you know, so many of these Western comics, I think, take it for granted. And I don't know whether they're just evading the reality of what Saudi Arabia is about or embracing it. But I would certainly never deal with them, never invest with them. And you know, I mean, why would you? Why would you sanction evil?
Yeah, and again, these are like big famous comedians. These are known people. This is like like a American comedy, like stand-up comedy people representation came out and went to Saudi Arabia as delegation to give its
I
give
mean,
its moral sanction.
unless you could like go there and make fun of him and say like, "Gee, you guys just, I mean, like make fun." If you were allowed to go in effect spit in their face, then I would think, "Wow, that's pretty powerful." That's maybe that's a statement to be made. But something tells me that none of these comics were particularly controversial. None of them were condemnatory of the Saudi regime, condemnatory of the Saudi history, or even condemnatory of how Saudis treat their citizens, the Saudi regime treats their citizens today.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it kind of reminds me of that joke told by Ronald Reagan from the Soviet Union era, where he says a story about an American meeting somebody from Russia and saying, I can go to the White House and say, Mr. Ronald Reagan, I don't like the way you're dealing with your country. And the Russian man said, I can do that too. I can go to the White House and say, Mr. Reagan, I don't like the way you're dealing with your country. Joking that he wouldn't tell that to like his own thing. Because yeah, they can go to Saudi Arabia and make fun of America. As you said, they cannot make fun of Saudi Arabia. One of the comedians, actually, Tim Dillon, who's also a gay person, he was supposed to go there, and he was cancelled not because of being gay, not because of joke he would say there, but because before he went there, he joked about slavery in Saudi Arabia. And he was canceled for that. So, like, what are these comedians thinking? Like, now there is if you want to get another gig in Saudi Arabia, you better make sure you never talk badly about Saudi Arabia. This is the deal. I mean, this is what will happen.
and sitting down with uh it's not just even your enemy. It's with it's like it's a non-rational third world barbaric mentality Islamist. I mean, sitting down with that, maybe someone in the super chat can remind me, but I believe Miss Rand did not approve of Richard Nixon going to China. And certainly I know I didn't approve of Donald Trump going to North Korea. To treat the North Korean dictator as Donald Trump did, as legitimate, as someone to be photographed with. I mean, and I think it's the same thing is true with Saudi Arabia. I would never go to Saudi Arabia, never go to Russia. I wouldn't want to be seen in those places, let alone be seen as somehow, endorsing them or embracing them or, legitimizing them. But that's exactly what these comics are doing. And the Saudi government does that. I mean, they have this huge public fund, sovereign wealth fund. So they put on their golf tournaments. They bring, Mr. Beast, we're going to talk all over. So that, the idea is to project to the world, oh, we're modern. But like, how modern can you be if you just now allowed women to drive what maybe even a couple of years ago? And I don't even know, I think it's actually their rights. I mean, it's such a barbaric backward culture. But when you put on a comedy festival, you seem like a normal Western country when you're not.
Yeah, and I want to run through a little bit more comedians. I mean, we have Pete Davidson, who commented on this. I just, get the routing and then I see the number and I go and I'll go. I don't know if you know this, but Pete Davidson's father actually, he was a first responder and he died on 9/11. And, I'm not gonna tell somebody what they should value or not, but to do something like that, like go to the festival, done. This is not even
Listen, man,
like,
it's total evasion, right?
yeah,
Hey, I'm just following orders. I just get where I'm supposed to go when I go. I don't pay
yeah,
any attention.
and this is not even like, going into UK when you don't agree with something the UK is doing. You cannot separate the government of Saudi Arabia from Saudi Arabia. It is one thing. It is one dictatorship. You can go to Western countries and disagree with the government and still be able to, not necessarily sanction it. Dave Chappelle, again, big comedian. I love his comedy. He said it's easier to talk here than it is in America, and he said that in Saudi Arabia. I mean, these are the people that go on and on about like cancel culture, and some of the criticism is correct. But you're going to Saudi Arabia when people getting canceled means getting killed or going into prison. Getting canceled in America is few people on Twitter don't like what you're saying. And this is the lack of proper philosophy, right? It's if somebody kills you, and if somebody tells he doesn't like your comedy, that's the same thing. That's
Mhm.
cancel culture.
Right. I mean, and the fact that they make, as I said, they sanction the regime when they go and I think the same thing is true about, frankly, the president of the United States hosting. I think it's called LV is the name of the Saudi Golf Initiative, like hosting their tournaments at your club. Like, why would you want to sanction that evil? Why would you want to deal with that evil? Be a part of that? Be associated with that? I mean, it's I think it's really, I don't know if it's bad morals or no morals. But I'm disappointed to see so many influential comics, very popular with the young people now, as they say, kind of, it's not just ignoring history, it's obliterating it. The reality of what the clear role the Saudis played in 9/11 and and thousands of American lives.
Yeah, and one comedian I'll mention, although I recommend people checking out and stopping listening to. I now turn off whenever I see these comedians. I turn it off. I cannot like accept this kind of thing. And Bill Burr, which was my favorite comedian for a long time, but I actually stopped watching him a few years ago because of the way he has been switching. And he is the one who got the most attack for it, and he's the one who has been defending it the most. He said it was a great experience, that part of the world, and to be part of the first comedy festival over there in Saudi Arabia. The royals loved the show. Everyone was happy. The people there that were doing festival were thrilled. He also talked about how, they have Pizza Hut or they have McDonald's. It's just like the West. They have the same stores. And again, Bill Burr is somebody who has been becoming more and more anti-American, more and more anti-money. I mean, he said earlier this year that billionaires should be put down like rabid dogs. So he has been on this trajectory for a while. That's why, I like no longer can support it. And I think people, I generally don't believe you should tell like other people what they should boycott or not. But if your values are with Western civilization, if your values are with, Western values, standing up for, freedom, capitalism, then I think sanctioning these comedians, you are going against those values. But that's again on every single person to decide.
Yeah, I mean it's really disappointing to see the people lining up to want to do business with really truly third world immoral irrational theocracies. And the fact that I think the theocracies is especially Islamist theocracies is especially daunting and especially sobering and frankly scary. I mean, with the prospect of Islamist violence, not just possible in the Middle East, but happening in the Middle East and perhaps in the West as well. I mean, why you'd want to do anything to, as I said, and frankly, I felt the same thing about Billy Joel when he played in the Soviet Union in the 1980s. Like, why would you go there and give them the concert? You should be giving the fans in Philly that concert. My opinion. Why would you sanction, terrible dictatorships or terrible regimes? And that's what you do when you deal with them like they're everyday normal folk. They're not.
We have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. And Deborah says Burr is no longer funny. And she also said that Bill Burr just did it for money. No, I think Bill Burr did it ideologically. He has been moving in that direction for a while. It's similar to, funnily enough, Tucker Carlson. I think ideologically, Tucker Carlson is there. It's not about money. It's about being so anti-American that you turn there.
Hey, well, because being American that's for boomers and old fogies. That's old. What's cool now is being anti-American, being anti-Western values. Being standing up for the mullahs and the Sharias, and that's what's kind of in and hip with today's ultraist culture.
So let's go into the Beastland. But first, just quick shout out to Mark Maron, Shane Gillis, and Zach Woods. They have been the most outspoken against this Riyadh festival. Shane Gillis, specifically, he was asked to be there. He said no. Then the Saudis doubled the money they would give him, and he still said no. He said he wants to stand up. He wouldn't. I think he said straight up that he stands by the principle, and he understood that
Great.
he couldn't like live with himself if we did that. So,
That's great to
uh,
hear.
yeah, it's great that there are still some, people standing up for the good thing. But let's go into the Beastland. So, Mr. Beast, one of the biggest influencers. I think we can use that description. He did this. He set up this sort of like a theme park in Saudi Arabia. When it comes to some people asked him why, he said sort of it's like in the middle of the earth. He has a big a lot of supporters in the Middle East, so it would sort of be easy for everybody to come in. Now this is going to be, I think, just for like month and a half there, and is actually a part of the same. It's called Division 2030. It's a Saudi Arabian sort of like domestic thing where they basically want to get people from around the world to set up things. And what is the goal? I mean, the goal is, of course, whitewashing the regime. It's like, oh, don't look at the dead journalists. Don't look at the violations of individual rights. We have a Mr. Beast land. We have a Riyadh comedy festival from the biggest comedy people in the West.
Yeah, I mean, we did a show. Do you remember? I mean, what was this? A couple of years ago now, the Saudis were promoting this massive futuristic city, Neom,
Oh,
which was
yeah.
going to be a skyscraper that was like 10 miles long. And I mean, right? I mean, this very dystopian. I mean, is all this to project, and it reminds me very much. And again, correct me in the super chat if I'm wrong, but Miss Rand's criticism of 1984, the novel 1984, was that, as I remember, how could that technology be created and sustained in a country or in a society that violated the individual's right to think? So that's why Neom will never happen, and all as long as Saudi Arabia remains a theocracy, all of its efforts to do anything other than just pump oil, I think, will fall flat because there's no room for the individual's mind to succeed.
Yeah, and sort of Ayn Rand's answer to that, or sort of technically question, because Anthem was written before 1984, if I remember correctly. In her own dystopian novel, the pinnacle of technology was a candle. And that took like 500 years to make, or if I remember correctly, like it took, because yeah, if you do not, because states do not create anything, collectives do not create anything. It's individuals who think that create something, and states that do not allow for that creation, that do not allow for that independence of mind, can not do anything. They can only take from somebody else.
And when you look at where all the skyscrapers, for example, in Saudi Arabia, they're all designed by the big Western architecture firms. It's the mind, where the mind is free, where the mind is open, and it's not surprising. So I just, again, I kind of look at it as a culture and a society that when you're free, would you want to have anything to do with? Why would you want to endorse? Mr. B says, well, a lot of my, fans are from there, but, he takes for granted, I think, the rights and the privilege, I don't say privileges, I'll say rights that he has as a Westerner. Certainly the right of free speech, if nothing else.
Yeah, so again, just more clarification on the Beastland. It's embedded in the state-funded festival. It's run by the governmental authority. I think the person behind both the festival and this Vision 2030 is he's not Saudi, but he's from the second biggest influential family in Saudi Arabia. So like everything is done through the government. We don't know if specifically he got some sort of subsidy or some sort of some sort of way to like have it easier done there. But in some ways, this should be a kick to America, right? People are leaving America. People, comedians, and these people are living in America for some other lands. And I think there's two things that have to be talked about. First is the moral, the fact that America doesn't stand for itself. I mean, we mentioned, right? President Donald Trump goes to North Korea. He says, we are just like everybody else. Well,
Right.
if we are just like everybody else, why shouldn't they go to Saudi Arabia? And the second thing is the business aspects. The fact is that when it comes to a lot of these Middle Eastern dictatorships, sometimes business is easier to be done there. Especially when it comes to tax burden or even general the regulatory environment, it's better there. That is not good. It should be better in America. America is the land, or in the West generally. Western societies are the societies based on freedom, and they should have the environment where the free minds are allowed to prosper. So I think both of these things need to happen. America has to stand up for America, and it has to actually be America, be the land of the free. Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, it's about ultimately about ideas. Everything it seems that Saudi Arabia has, it just buys wholesale from the West. Replicated the PGA with its own golf tournament. Luring players over with these astronomical sums. So yeah, they're very good at spending a lot of money to whitewash the reality that they're not like the West. There aren't basic individual rights as there are in most of Western Europe, obviously in the United States, Canada, North America. So I think WUB 505 says, people have to use their brains, and that's right, and kind of have some sense of morality and have some sense of sanction about, who you would want to associate with and who you'd want to be seen with and who you want to endorse.
Yeah, and if we go into even past,
if what's the news aid? If Al Jazeera wanted an interview with me, I wouldn't do it. If RT wanted an interview with me, I wouldn't do it. Like, I'm not sanctioned. I'm not sitting down for conversations with totalitarian dictatorships and treat him like, oh, it's just any other news source.
yeah, I might do it and like troll it, maybe because there is a good sort of like YouTube comedian. He's called JREC, and he did an interview for Russia Today, but he completely trolled it. Like, and they took him seriously. So there is a question if that if you still give it sanction, if you just join it as even if to make fun of it, or if that is like a legitimate thing. But yeah, absolutely, joining Russia Today or Al Jazeera is like a serious thing. Absolutely, going into Saudi Arabia, and they only didn't allow us to make jokes about Saudi Arabia and the royal family. Well, that's isn't that what usually comedians like give from those times, like, oh, we can make fun of the authority, we can put down the big guy, we can go after the government, we can make fun of it, and then now you go into it and it's like, well, it's just comedy, it's not a serious thing. In America it's all about like we are these almost like philosophers, and then you go to say, oh, it's just comedy, bro, like what are you talking about?
Well, a core concept for Rand is sanction of the victim, which is the willingness of good people to suffer by accepting and supporting an irrational and evil moral code, empowering their own oppressors. That's AI's perspective, but you should go on, check out the Ayn Rand lexicon and read what Miss Rand had to say. I mean, you shouldn't keep silent. You shouldn't accommodate evil. She always talks about the fact that evil is impotent, but up for how we feed it. We allow it to succeed. So I think, in my opinion, every Western firm that deals with the Saudi regime is just sanctioning evil and feeding it and allowing it to succeed and grow.
And we'll continue covering this on the reality show in just 5 minutes, where we'll talk about Sydney Sweeney again. She done an interview, and now everybody is going after her because, quote, she didn't denounce white nationalism. This is what is happening, because if people remember her original campaign with American Jeans, when they called her a Nazi for doing it. So check out the reality show in just a few minutes. Jonathan, any last thoughts from you, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, read about what Miss Rand wrote of America and Americanism. A new textbook of Americanism. We'll put up the thing in the chat and check it out. It's published over on Amazon. A new textbook of Americanism, Miss Rand's perspective on the values, the ideas that truly make the West great.
And people, as I said, people can join us on the reality show in just 5 minutes. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining me today. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and bye-bye.